purchase another 5-drawer Alex system from IKEA, and then bought, I think it's called the Linman, I think, the tabletop. So I bought that, and I already had this system, so just created a new desk using those, and now I have to put everything away. I'm overwhelmed, like I don't even really know where to start, but I just have to dive in and start. Barry's gonna hang this for me just over here so that I can put like dirty brushes, brush cleanser, just stuff that like I use regularly but not often enough to warrant being in a drawer. Usually this stuff just ends up sitting on the floor, so now I'll have a home for it. And then I'm going to reorganize these little shelves as well. I've taped all of my lights to the wall, so hopefully the dog, when she wags her tail, doesn't destroy everything. In here I have even more palettes, so I think I'm actually going to do a palette declutter. I wasn't planning on doing that, but if I'm going to be reorganizing everything, I may as well. And then I have some storage space for additional ones there, and then I have a couple shelves as well. This is just the empty case right now for that one. And I just didn't know where else to put that, so that'll probably go down in that one there. And then just a couple more holders here from the cosmetic archive. And I don't have my lights in here yet, but already I'm happy because this has more walking space. Like this room is tiny, you can see it's not huge. And then I also want to go through that, and if I can even get rid of that corner unit, that would be great. But it does house like Aspen's little collection as well. She's got her caboodle down at the bottom and her mirror and just assorted other just shit that needs to be dealt with. So I will be working on this for quite some time today, and I will provide some updates as we go along. All right, see you later. All right, so I've made good progress here. I've got most of the stuff cleared off of the top of the desk at any rate, with the exception of this box, which has some of my palettes in it, which is kind of crazy. I think right now what I'm going to do is empty out these drawers. Like there are a ton of palettes in these drawers, and I'm just going to go through all of my palettes and figure out what I want to keep and what I want to part ways with, and then figure out where to house them. All right, so now I am on to the palette declutter portion of this adventure. I had initially counted them all up and thought that was a rather impressive number, and then realized that I had forgot to empty 2 more drawers of palettes. And the number obviously climbed from there. So grand total, I have 160 eyeshadow palettes. That includes things like magnetic palettes where there are single shadows in there. I just figured I may as well count all palettes regardless of how they're formed. 160 palettes. I mean, it's such a weird feeling because like on the one hand, I love my collection. Like I love it. I have been amassing makeup for years and I love it. On the other hand, it's really overwhelming. And then when I think about like, okay, so 160 palettes, well, there's only 365 days in a year. I can only use each palette like twice and some a third time. Like that's just kind of crazy. So I'm going to go through them. I'm going to try to be very pragmatic about my approach and not just be super sentimental about it all. But I am overwhelmed. I don't even really know where to start, but I need to dive into it. So here we go. All right, so I'm super overwhelmed with going through all my palettes, but the approach that I took was to start with the ones that I know I definitely want to keep, and also the ones that I know I definitely want to get rid of. I still have like a buttload to go through that are in a maybe pile. But what I thought I would do is just kind of quickly breeze through the ones that I have already made decisions on, and then we'll move on from there. I love videos where like the camera's overhead and you get to see the whole thing and this and that and the other. I just don't have that set up. And whoa! Oh, My friggin' Spotify just turned itself on and a podcast just started and it scared the shit out of me, as you may have just seen. All right. Okay, what was I saying? Yes, I don't have that kind of setup. I don't have like a really good friggin' tripod. Actually, you know what? Now that I say that, I do have a good tripod. I just don't know where it is. Hence, I'm decluttering and getting rid of all the extraneous crap in my house. Whoops. Anyways, it is what it is. I'm not going to remix them all up and pretend that I haven't already gone through at least part of this exercise. So hopefully you still find this at least interesting. Having said all that, let's get into the ones that I know I am definitely going to get rid of. There are a fewer number of those than the ones I definitely want to keep, so it's just easier to start there. First up, in no particular order, we have the Lime Crime Pocket Candy Palette. And it's just one of those ones that it was like an impulse purchase. I bought it because it was on sale, frankly. I was placing another order and I saw that this was on sale for like dirt cheap, and I've never used it. And I've had it for quite some time and I don't see myself reaching for it. It's also a bit of a beast to store, like it's pretty bulky and it's just, I shouldn't have bought it. The 2020, gonna be less impulsive. I think I say that every year, but 2020 is the year, gonna do it. Okay, so that one I'm going to be decluttering. Huda Beauty Gemstone Obsessions, they are all shimmery shadows. And honestly, if I'm gonna reach for this kind of shadow, I'm gonna reach for the Clionadh Multichromes or like the Glitter Multichromes, any of their stained gloss collection basically, over this palette. So I'm gonna pass it on and see if somebody else will get more use out of it than I will. MAC. This is the Burgundy x9 eyeshadow palette. It came free with a purchase that I made sometime last year. It's obviously a very neutral palette. I have no complaints with the performance of it, I just don't reach for it. Smashbox Cover Shot in Bold. It's the Bold Eye palette. It's their rainbow version. Again, it's just a palette that I don't reach for, so not going to keep it. Likewise, Too Faced Totally Cute. There are the shades inside there. It's not a bad palette, but I just don't reach for it, and I have these kind of shades in other formulas that I prefer to this one, so passing it on. Take Me Back to Brazil by BH Cosmetics. It is a very colorful palette, but I have a ton of colorful shadows, and this is not the formula that I prefer. So this is one that I think, like I'm going to offer all of these to Aspen and let her pick and choose. I predict that she will choose this one for sure. The Zoeva Spice of Life mini palette here. It's just a 6-pan palette. I bought it when I was buying some Zoeva brushes, or a Zoeva brush, I can't remember. When I was placing a Zoeva order, I added this to the cart to try out their formula. Not a huge fan, so I don't use it. This one from NYX is the Water palette, and it's all cool toned and blue / slightly blue-green. I like the color, like I like the idea of the color story. I have had this at least 2 years, and looking at it, I haven't even swatched all of the shades. I don't use this. Ever. Ever, ever. I don't know why. I keep saving it. I never use it. So today's the day that I let it go. Likewise, the Violet Voss Rainbow palette. It swatches really beautifully, but I literally have never used it on my eyes, and I have had it for at least a year, and I never have used it. I have swatched it a bunch, but I have never put it on my eyes. So it is one that I keep saving from declutters, but then I don't use it. So it is time to finally just part ways with it. As well, from NYX, the I Love You So Mochi palette. Again, this is when I got it. It was on sale, and I don't use it, and I have never used it. I have at least swatched these shadows, but I just never ever even think about this palette. So away it goes. Catrice palette. This is the Catrice and Wesley Benjamin Carter collab. It is actually like a good quality palette, especially for being a drugstore palette. But again, I have more intense, colorful shadows that I reach for over this, but hopefully one of my friends will appreciate that one and get more use out of it than I do. From L'Oreal, I have the Paradise Enchanted Scented Eyeshadow Palette. It smells kind of like peaches, but also kind of like movie theater butter. I don't know, it's just a weird smell. Not a bad palette, but again, it just sits in a drawer and doesn't get any use. I do not remember ordering this one, like at all. This is the Spectrum Prism Makeup Eyeshadow Palette. It's basically a dupe for the ABH Prism palette, I believe it was. I don't remember ordering this. I literally don't remember ordering this. I don't think I've ever used it. Like, it looks like there's still shadows that are unswatched. It's not a color story that really does anything for me. I don't know how it came to be living in my house. I'm mystified, but I'm going to pass it along. I have one of the CoverGirl palettes here. This is the True Naked Peach Punch palette, and again, it just sits and languishes in a drawer. I actually like these palettes, and I have, you'll see, I've kept one or two, I think two other varieties of it, but this one, this color story in particular, I just don't reach for. This one here I've literally never used. It is from Essence. It is the Eye Flirt Party Look eyeshadow palette. Honestly, I think I bought it simply because it was a large Essence palette and I wanted to try it out, and then I never did. And that was several months ago. I think Aspen will probably keep this one, to be honest, which means that if I decide I want to try it in future, I can. But yeah, there's a lot of overlap in shades in here, and it didn't need to be nearly as many pans as it is. If you watched my video about makeup that I never use, but for some reason never declutter, you would have seen the Violet Voss hashtag palette. It is their gold and purple palette. I'm going to declutter it finally. I love the color story in here. I love the golds mixed with the purples. I think it's really pretty. I'm just not a huge fan of this formula, and it just sits in a drawer, ties out space, and I never ever reach for it. Last but not least is a custom palette that I created for myself using Buxom singles. I'd made this years ago, and while the shades are very pretty, they just don't perform all that well anymore. I just think they're past their prime, and whatever the formulation is, it's gone off a little, and they don't have the same creaminess that they used to, so it's time to let this one go. So overall, that is 23 palettes that I know for sure I am going to be removing from my collection. Now, let's get into the ones I know I'm definitely going to keep, and then we will tackle the maybes. Hang in there. Alright, for the palettes that I'm going to keep, I'm not going to like open every single one of them up because there is a very large pile here. Where I can, I will group them in terms of brand. So I'm just going to kind of like show you stacks. Alright, so ABH palettes, I will be keeping all of these. I recently did a video where I ranked all of them, and since that video I have also added the Riviera palette to the mix. I haven't had a chance to play around with it yet, but I'm definitely going to be keeping all of those. Melt Cosmetics, I will be keeping all of my Melt palettes. I do have one of their stacks, which is currently sitting in the maybe pile, but in terms of the palettes, they aren't going anywhere. Same with the 3 Huda Beauty palettes that I have. I really do like these, so I'm going to be keeping all 3. To go along with the Huda Beauty palettes, I also have a whack of her minis, including one of the neon ones, and these are safe. they're staying here. I know that I will be keeping the majority of my Natasha Denona palettes. I have the Sunset palette, the Gold palette, the Sunrise palette, 2 of the full-size 5 pans and 2 of the mini 5 pans. I also have her most recent mini 5 pan en route to me now. It should arrive tomorrow. I just have 1 of the mini 5 pans in the maybe pile at this moment, but the rest of them I am going to be keeping. Should have mentioned when I talked about ABH, but I also have 1 of the mini Norvina palettes. I haven't played around with this one yet, but it does look very fun, so I'm going to give that one a try. I have 2 Kat Von D palettes that I will be keeping. One is the Pastel Goth and the other one is the Divine palette. I just really like the color stories of both of these, and although I'm not a fan of Kat Von D, I already own these. I'm going to keep them because they're already here, so they're staying. ColourPop. They drive me bananas with how many releases they come out with, but damned if I don't like them. So a lot of these monochromatic palettes I will be keeping. I have some other ColourPop palettes in the maybe pile, but we will talk about them when we get to them. I have some palettes from the drugstore that I am going to be keeping. One is from Milani, I have some CoverGirl, and some Wet n Wild in the mix here. My 2 Lunar Beauty palettes that I own, I will not be getting rid of, so they are safe. I have some Jeffree Star palettes here. As much as I like the look of this kind of packaging, god damn, they're a pain in the ass to store. Like, they truly, truly are, but I like the shadows so much that I don't want to get rid of it just because I don't like the packaging. The packaging aesthetically is pretty, but like I said, it's just such a pain in the ass to store, but I will figure it out. Next up are single shadow palettes that I have created, I guess. I have Inglot, I have Adept Cosmetics. These ones are Makeup Geek, ABH, various others in here, a lot of Juvia's Place as well. I depotted my Juvia's Place palettes. And then, of course, Cleona Cosmetics I will not be getting rid of. So all of these ones are safe. I have a few indie brand options here as well. I have from Certify, Blush Tribe, Give Me Glow, and what is this? Pretty Weird Cosmetics. So I really do like all 4 of these ones, and I don't want them to go away. That is all the grouping that I can do, so now I'm just going to go like rapid fire through the remaining in this category. So we have the Chocolate Gold, is that what it's called? Yes. The Chocolate Gold from Too Faced. I have the Stila Holiday Palette. I don't know that it actually has a name. Yes, it does. Blue Realm. There it is there. I just recently picked up this palette from Stellar. It was on sale at Sephora. I haven't had an opportunity to play with it yet, but I really just like how nice and cool toned it is. And the Stellar face products have impressed me so far, so I have good hopes for this one. I have one of the Sephora Pro palettes. This one is the Smoky Jewels. So it's all those like nice, rich, deep tones there. From Viseart, I have the Liaison palette, which is their cool toned, almost purple kind of palette here. I have the MAC Holiday palette from this year. This one is the neutral option that they had. So there's just 6 pans in there. The Flamingo palette from Violet Voss. I haven't used this one in quite some time, but when I do use it, I really do enjoy it, with the exception of the black. I just think that they should have picked a much softer shade than that, to be honest, like a dark purple or even a dark blue. I just think that would have played better with what else is in here. The Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals palette. I really, really like this palette, and there is no way that I'm getting rid of it at this point. And finally, one that is quite old in my collection, but I cannot bring myself to part ways with, is the Electric palette from Urban Decay. So that one is staying put. All right, I'm gonna find homes for those palettes, and then we're gonna tackle the maybes. I'll be back. All right, so rather than make you watch me hem and haw over all of these palettes, I did go ahead and go through the maybe pile, and I've sorted them out to keep and to declutter. So same as we did before, I'm going to go through the ones that I'm going to be parting ways with, and then I will go through the ones that I'm going to keep as well. So to part ways with, I have a palette from Hedo Cosmetics. They are a Canadian brand, which makes me feel guilty for getting rid of it, but the color story just does nothing for me. That's on me for putting it into my cart and buying it, but it just, I never ever reach for this. The shadows themselves are nice. The mattes are better than the shimmers in my opinion. The shimmers just are a little lackluster for what I prefer. There's Luna scratching. Luna, noisy girl. Hi, have a seat. Good girl. Good girl. So I don't get any use out of it, but maybe somebody else will. A couple drugstore palettes here. One is from Physicians Formula, one is from Maybelline. Both of them are adequate, but they're just also palettes that I overlook because I have so many others. Got the Too Faced, whatever the hell this thing was called, Life is a Festival, that little rainbow palette thing that they came out with a year or two ago. I suspect that Aspen is really going to enjoy this one because she is the only one who has used this one. I never reach for it. I have two ColourPop palettes that I'm going to part ways with. One is the Yes Please palette and one is one of the Bretman Rock ones. This one is the Wet palette. This one is all blues and silvers, and I have an abundance of blues and silvers in my collection. Likewise, this one is all sort of warm tones, and again, I have these in spades, so I don't need either of these two palettes. I'm going to part ways with another Huda Beauty mini, and this is the Coral Obsessions. Again, I just have these shades over and over, and this is one of the minis that I just do not get much use out of. It is very good quality, so I'm hoping that one of my friends will enjoy it more than I do. Again, if you watched my video where I was talking about makeup that I don't get any use out of, but for some reason still keep, the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette came up in there, and while it hurts my heart to get rid of it, I don't use it. I just don't. And so it doesn't do anybody any good for it to sit in a drawer and just continue to age. So I'm going to pass that one on as well. The last item is another one that kind of hurts my soul to get rid of simply because it was a gift, and that is the Metal Matte palette from Kat Von D. There it is here. It was limited edition. I coveted this thing and then I received it, and while it's good, it's not mind-blowing. It's not an amazing palette. It's a beast to store. It is quite long and bulky, and I just don't get a ton of use out of it at all, so I'm hoping that one of my friends will. So that brings me to a total of 38 palettes that I am parting ways with. I feel good about that. I didn't have like a goal coming into this. Certainly I didn't think that I was gonna like decimate my collection by half, but parting ways with 38, I think I said 38 palettes that just no longer bring any function to me feels good because it just frees up space and makes my collection that much less overwhelming for me to deal with. So let me put those away and then we'll talk about the items that I'm keeping. All right, again, for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to sort of rapid fire do these, and I've categorized them and grouped them together as best I can. So first up are palettes from Glamlight. I have the burger, the pizza, the taco, and the paint palette. I have not yet tried the paint palette, and I've had it for several months. I do want to give this one a good shake, so obviously going to keep that. I thought they were cute at first. They're a beast and a half to store. So what I'd like to do with these, if possible, is depot them. And when I do that, I kind of look at the shades that I really like and only keep those. So that's going to be a project for another day. I can't be bothered to do that today. The burger one I preferred over the pizza palette. I actually really did like the burger palette, but again, it's just such a pain in the ass to store. And like the burger is like raised, like the bun of it is raised, so it just makes it that much harder. Cute concept, I do like it, unique, different, all that good stuff, but practically speaking, it's a pain in the tush. Likewise, this palette from Lancome. This is the Monsieur Big. I think it's like, yeah, 12 Shades of Love. Why this wasn't a Valentine's release, I'll never understand, but it wasn't. I like this palette. These colors are right up my alley. Like, this is the kind of tones, these are the kind of tones that I really like. Palette's a pain in the ass to store, but I'm going to because I like the shades so much. These palettes from Pat McGrath, I'm really keeping simply because of the packaging and because they're Pat McGrath. Overall, not a huge fan, particularly this one, but I don't want to get rid of them and I want to continue trying them and trying to make them work even better for me. Because of the price point, I feel like they're supposed to be absolutely amazing and they don't blow my socks off, but I'm not ready to throw in the towel on them just yet. Oh, sorry, I just came across another Pat McGrath. This is one of the, I don't know what the hell it is, a 4-pan palette of some sort. Part of her, I think it was part of her holiday release this year. I've talked about this in previous videos. 2 of the shades I really like, 2 of them kind of wah-wah, but I'm going to keep it nonetheless and keep working with it again, trying to make myself love it, basically. I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen, but I don't really think it will. I'm going to admit I have some palettes that I'm keeping purely for the packaging. Tarte, there are 3 of them. So one is their collaboration with Jamie, I can't remember what her name was, I'm really sorry. This is the Let It Rainbow palette. It is a nice rainbow palette and I did do a review on this and actually really liked how they performed. They are good shadows and it's nice to see Tarte break away from their neutral rut, but I do have a lot of other bright shadows and I don't need this one, but I like the packaging and I like how like cute and compact it is. This palette here is their finger paint or their foil finger paints palette, good lord. And it's like, it's only got 3 full size and then like these little half pans over here. Not wild on the pressed glitters, but these 3 are actually really pretty. I don't get a ton of use out of it, but the packaging is just next level bananas and I can't get rid of it because it's just so pretty. Finally is the Tarte High Tides and Good Vibes palette. And again, the packaging is pretty cool. Like it's got like a movable liquid in there. The shades themselves are actually quite pretty, although these pressed glitters, I would have been much happier if they were just like extreme foiled metallic shadows. I don't really get on all that well with pressed glitters, although frankly, for being pressed glitters, these ones perform nicely. So it is a solid palette. I don't reach for it very often, but this one I'm keeping more for the packaging than I am the shades within it. If I'm wrong, I don't want to be right. There it is. Likewise, these 2 palettes from NARS. So we have the Provocateur and the Fleur Fatale, and they're both just beautiful on the outside. They're pretty on the inside, but it's the outside that I like the most out of these, and I just don't see myself, in particular this one here, don't see myself getting rid of that anytime soon because it's so pretty. I have some palettes from the drugstore that I'm going to keep. One is from Essence, I have one from e.l.f. and 2 from Wet n Wild. The 2 from Wet n Wild I don't really use all that often, but I like to keep them because when I do videos where I'm doing like super basic looks or talking about like beginner friendly items, this one in particular shows up quite frequently and it is walking on eggshells. It's just like, if we talk about like My Lips But Better type lipsticks, this is like My Eyes But Better kind of eyeshadows. Like, it doesn't add an awful lot, but it just kind of enhances what you already have going on. Depending on your skin tone, of course, this works well for me. So these are palettes that I just want to hold on to for the purpose of like demonstrations down the road kind of deal. I don't use them very often, but they are very good palettes and they're like $4 or something. Like it's an amazing price point. Also, I have to interject and interrupt myself. I'm sorry if my energy seems really low. I've been working on this room pretty much all day. Did stop to get my hair done, which was awesome. And and I'm just tired today. And honestly, I'm just like overwhelmed, and I'm just ready to be done with organizing this room. I enjoy organizing my makeup. Like, it's like the most organized spot in my house is my makeup room. I'm just tired. So I apologize. It's me. It's not you. It's me. Moving on. Still Lotsy. This is the Darkroom palette, which was in collaboration with Jordan Liberty. And I have some mixed feelings on this palette. I am not upset by the color story. It was made by a makeup artist that I have like a ton of respect for, to be honest. I really, like, I can pick his makeup out of like a sea of makeup looks. Like, I can just tell when it's his work, which I think is really cool because I can't do that with like anybody else, but I can do it with his. I have no complaints about the color story. The shadows themselves, not mind-blowing. And I'm not familiar with Stilazzi. Like, this is the only thing I've ever used from them. They're not bad. They're not amazing. They're not the most like soft and buttery kind of mattes. The metallics are pretty, but they're not like super shimmery or anything like that. They're not super creamy. They're a little bit of a more dry kind of formula. Still pretty, still workable, but not like my favorite formula for either of the mattes or the shimmers. However, I am going to keep it because it is one of those palettes that if you're going away and you don't want to take a ton of palettes with you, this one gives you basically everything you could hope for, with the exception of some like really bright pops of colors, but it is a very versatile palette. It does perform nicely. It's just not my favorite formula. Moving on from there, we're now moving into the territory of palettes that I'm going to keep, but I'm giving them a bit of a warning that the next time I do a declutter, they may be getting the axe. So one is one that I did talk about in that video where I was like, I don't know why I keep keeping it, but I do. And I'm keeping it again. This one is from Laura Mercier. It's a horrible name. I hate the name of it. I Art Artists palette. Hate the name of it. Nice, cool toned palette. Performs beautifully. It is lovely. I never use it. I need to make a concerted effort to do so. Another one from Violet Voss is the Best Life palette. They just came out with a second version of that. I did not pick it up and I don't have any intention to do so. This one is quite nice. These are all pressed glitters though, and I don't get a ton of use out of them, but the regular shadows down here are very nice. So kind of like a half and half. I'm going to see how much use I get out of it and we'll judge it down the road. The Melt Gunmetal stack, I keep saving it. I keep saving it. Don't know why. It's not like the most unique thing. I don't get a ton of use out of it, again, because like all the shadows are super dark with the exception of one. And I don't tend to wear like a dark smoky eye on any sort of regular basis, but I don't want to get rid of it. And I don't know why, but I don't, so I'm not going to. There it is. This mini from Natasha Denona is the mini Lila palette, or Lila, I still don't know how to say it. It is a pretty selection of shades. Sometimes these minis don't perform as nicely as her full size, and I find that this falls into that category. It's not as bad as some of the other ones that I've tried, but it's not as good as the mini gold or the mini star. So it's sort of on like, it's on shaky ground. I'm gonna keep it for now. Doesn't take up an awful lot of space, but we'll see how it goes by the time I do my next declutter. Last for palettes, this one is from Stila and it is the After Hours palette. I actually do like this one. I know the other one, there was the After Hours and then the After Party. I can't remember what the other one was called. People did not feel great about the other one. This one I had no performance issues with, and I think it's a good standard neutral palette to hold on to. I'm not really giving this one a warning per se. I don't know why I've left it till the end. It is a good palette. I like it. Don't use it a ton, but I do like it. So I'm not warning this one. It's fine. Okay, so that is that. I now have to find homes for the rest of these palettes here. Honestly, I was going to film the final like collection video tonight, but I think I'm going to do that as a separate video, to be honest, because this one has taken up quite a bit of time. So we're just going to cut this here as an eyeshadow declutter video, and then I will do an actual full collection video coming up soon, or before this one goes up, I don't know. Anyways, guys, again, I apologize for the low mood. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.